All right, good evening. I'd like to call to order our East Long Meadow School Committee meeting. It's August 11th, 2014. It is 7 p.m. And I'd just like to say that this meeting is being both audio and videotaped, and I'd just like to know if anyone else in the audience is doing the same. Just let us know. Thank you very much. So we're now going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And we're going to stand for that. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Perfect. Thank you. And we'll start with roll call to my left.
Elizabeth Marcy Boucher.
Mary Thompson.
Rich Ficero.
Deirdre Mayu.
Gordon Smith, Superintendent of Schools.
Bill Fonseca.
Terry Olacheris, Assistant Superintendent for Business.
Kathy Salati, Recording Secretary.
Great. Welcome back, everyone. It's exciting to see you all. And we're going to start with the approval of some minutes. We have our June 23rd, 2014 regular session meeting minutes.
Move to approve the June 23rd, 2014 regular session meeting minutes.
Okay, motion made.
Second.
And seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. All right, that carries forward 5-0. Thank you. And then we have some executive session minutes.
I'll move to approve the June 23rd, 2014 executive session meeting minutes.
Okay, motion's made.
I'll second.
And seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, take a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. And that goes forward 5-0. Thank you. We're going to move on to our committee and subcommittee communications. And Beth, would you like to start us out with?
Yes, I just want to say that eLeaf is going to be having their 5K run on September 21st, and they would really love to have anybody, young and old, walking, crawling. They have a great crawl. They'll take crawlers in a stroller, you bet
It's
they
a
will.
long crawl.
They will.
What was the date again?
September 21st.
And they also have a kids run again,
They do
too,
have a
in
kids
addition
run.
to
Yes, they do.
the regular one.
Yep.
All set, thank you.
Any update on the tennis courts?
I don't know, I was
I
going to
have
ask.
have an update for later.
They look
Court's
okay.
going.
Perfect.
Two items to talk about. First, it was a successful night out last Tuesday. Compliments to Chief Mellis and all of his work to bring the community together. And secondly, kind of mixed emotions with talking about this, but I guess when you're a very effective school system, that means that one of the ingredients of an effective school system is having good staff. And over the summer, we lost 4 good staff members who, one way or another, accepted positions which we would call promotions. You know, we lost 2 assistant principals, Ryan Kelly, one to a principalship in Springfield, and Holly Martin, one to a principalship in Connecticut. We lost Tracy Gamble, who moved to, was it Delaware?
Maryland. Closer to her family.
And we lost Eric Bauer, a data and information specialist, who's moving on to another community. So, personally, good for them. For us, it's not fun at all. There's a lot of good people there.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And I wish them luck, because I know for them it was to advance and become principals.
Yeah.
So. Oh, well. All right.
Indirectly, it's a compliment, I said.
I know, it is.
All right, to follow up with what Rich just said, I'd like to let everybody know we have hired a transportation manager, Becky Connor. She came from First Student in Granby, where she was transportation manager. She will begin her career here on Friday, so I just wanted to give her a welcome. Very good candidate, will be fine. You know, I just want to reassure everybody that she was very strong, and I don't see any problems at all. So I'd like to welcome her. And again, as Rich said, successful national night out.
What was the best food you ate, Mr. Fonseca?
It was a sausage grinders that Mr. Ficero was serving, so very good, very well attended. And you did a phenomenal job there, Rich, as usual.
Good. Okay. And I think you've included everything, so I am good. And we have our next part. We're going to move on. It's the opportunity for visitors to address the committee. So if anyone's here and they want to speak, by all means. Okay. And now we're going to move on to presentations. We have 5.1.1, Convocation Assembly.
This is just a reminder that on August 25th at 8 a.m., if you want to share in some refreshments with us at Birchland Park, we have our Convocation Assembly. All staff will be assembling there, and it kicks off our school year. The official program starts at 8:30. And then students are back with us on August 26th. Oh, it's coming.
It's there.
I know.
Mr. Mayor, will we have an encore of Happy? at this company?
If you would like, maybe this time I'll have you sing along. We'll try. Okay, so from that we can move on to 5.2.1. We have Business Manager's Quarterly Report.
This is not a snapshot.
This
This
is not
is
a
it.
snapshot. This
This
is
is
the
it.
final report for fiscal year FY14. And just to bring everybody up to date, we did hold a couple of finance subcommittee meetings. June 25th, we sat and discussed strategies for year-end transfers with some goals of making sure, of course, that all of our obligations, salary and goods and services were taken care of. As I always say, we have to keep looking at the next fiscal year as well as the current fiscal year, so we wanted to preserve circuit breaker monies and tuition and other revolving accounts so that we're good for next year. Increased technologies for school, for the schools, stabilize the athletic revolving fund, which has been a problem for a number of years. And we're hoping to fix that up again this year and then go forward with a plan to keep funding it more within the budget each year.
So we'll
rather than-
modify the budget going
Correct.
forward to reflect.
Right. That's the plan. So
Okay.
let's see how that works. And so, and then we.
Not your problem, is that what you're saying?
No,
Yeah, I'm totally kidding, Terry.
That's not what I meant. I apologize.
This is the year where we have to make that happen.
Right.
That's right.
Return funds back to the town's general fund, of course, too, was one of our goals.
Right.
And we did make all of those transfers and was successful in returning about $55,000 to the town's general
I
fund.
think it, once again, speaks well for us. I mean,
Yep.
we're being financially responsible, returning money to the town. I mean, we've done this for how many years in a row now, would you say? Since I've been on school committee, 5 years, we've done it for 5 years,
Yeah.
Yes.
at least.
Right. Yeah, no,
So if there's any questions.
Yeah. Oh,
No, I
well,
think
very good.
it's
Very good.
excellent,
very
excellent,
nice.
Solar Jack.
Very good work. Thank you.
Very
Very
good,
detailed.
very good.
I make a motion to accept the Assistant Superintendent for Business Quarterly Report.
Okay, motion is made.
I'll second.
And seconded, any further discussion?
Is this the end of the year transfers? That's the spreadsheet here, right?
Yes.
One with the teacher, I will say,
Yes.
yeah.
Yep, okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. So no other further discussion, so we'll take a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. That carries forward 5-0. Thank you. Good work, Terry. Thank you again. Okay, moving on, we have 6.1, our discussion of district participation, MCAS, and/or park assessment.
Okay, we discussed this in June, and I think rightfully so, the school committee decided to table the vote at that time. The carrot, if you will, that the Department of Education was holding out to school systems basically was that they can ensure that whatever your choice was would happen if you made the decision by June 30th. But just to give you some numbers since June 30th, roughly 75% of the districts in the Commonwealth did make a decision by June 30th, so that means 25% are similar to us who have not made a decision. We actually could go up until October 1st, although I wouldn't recommend taking that long to make the decision. My guess would be that in this meeting or the next meeting, if we were to make a decision, we still probably would get whatever our choice was. That's a guess. That's coming off a conference call that took place on Friday with Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Of the districts, and then certainly ask the question, of the districts that made the choice, roughly 60% went park in some way, shape, or form. It may not have been all park, grades 3 through 11, it could be many different variations. And 40% went MCAS. So it's not exactly even, but it's close. I think, if I wrote these notes down correctly, of the 60%, 54% are doing some online testing next year.
How many?
54%.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
So-
only 30% of all the districts are doing park computer testing? Really?
Roughly, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. This summer, what the Department of Education opened up was what they call Technology Readiness Tool. And so we put all districts had to put their inventory of what technology they have in the schools. Now, actually with our technology renewal that took place this year with the help of capital and with the help of our technology department, we're actually in a much better situation once we got by July 1st and we could start to order and add to our existing inventory. But in putting that in, it was really eye-opening, I guess would be the best way to put it, because even with some of our newest purchases, we only, according to this tool, have about 64% sort of capacity to test the students we have who would be of testing age. So we still need to build on it. And so they're looking at everything from what's your wireless infrastructure, how many devices do you have, how many devices can you dedicate to testing. And so we still need to not only we've renewed all of our teacher computers, and we've now begun to renew some of our labs. It's really the labs that hit the testing.
Right.
The teacher computers will help us start to do a better job integrating technology on a daily basis in the classroom, but it's renewing the labs which will help for the online testing. So, the recommendation, just to bring it back to the committee from the leadership team, was that for next year, we choose Park, paper and pencil, in grades 3 through 8, and then stay MCAS in the high school, grades 9 through 11. You have to stay MCAS for grade 10. I believe you have to stay MCAS for the science test. However, you can do some trial Park tests for grades 9 and 11.
So the reasoning for this, first question, if I may, I'm sorry to jump in.
Absolutely.
The 64% technology ability, does that include those things that were talked about in the quarterly budget report? The
It does,
laptop
yeah,
cards and such,
it does.
that gets us to 64%?
Right,
With the
yeah.
export. Okay. And then, so what's the reason then for the split then for Park 3 through 8, or the recommendation, and MCAS 9 through 11? Why two different?
When we made for the split between Park and MCAS?
Why would we do both? Why would we choose both?
Well, one, we have to keep MCAS as the competency tool for graduation. So if you're going to experiment with Park at the high school level, you're going to do both. And what our administrators felt last year with the pilot is that doing both is really challenging.
Yeah.
And so the high school actually was part of the pilot last year, and so they did schedule both, and they did MCAS, and they would prefer, since they know that the MCAS competency portion is with us from here until 2018, that they would prefer to stay MCAS.
Yeah, I like the recommendation, because I like the consistency that you have 3 through 8 are elementary and middle school together with Park. In the high school, they're dealing with the SATs on top of all this type of testing. I'd rather keep it just the way it is at MCAS. So, I mean, my feeling is I like the recommendation.
So we did, last year, the pilot, though, we did Park, computer-based Park.
We did.
3 through 8.
Yeah, not entirely, but in some grades
Oh,
we did.
in that
yeah.
specific
Right.
class?
Actually, the middle school did
Grades.
paper and pencil.
Okay.
Our younger grades did it online.
Okay.
And I believe 1 or 2 of the high school classes did it online.
So do we not have the capacity to do it online 3 through 8 at all?
To do it for our entire population, we're gaining the capacity. We're closer than we were last year. Remember, the recommendation was actually before we started to make purchases and build our inventory.
Oh, so we're better off than the recommendation.
In May, when we were discussing it as a leadership team, they're coming off the pilot, and they're dealing with, if you think of our elementary classroom, or elementary schools, dealing with one desktop lab. And so they're trying to schedule everybody through that lab, and they found that very challenging.
So would that change, though, with the new purchases?
The new purchase added a few computers and makes it mobile, because it's a mobile cart. So they could split it. If you have smaller classes, you might be able to squeeze 2 classes in at once by splitting the cart. I think there are 30 on there. I don't think we have too many classes of 15, so you're still probably doing 1 class at a time. So until we can build capacity a little bit more, maybe you have 2 carts, 2.5 carts per building, I think the principals feel that they would prefer to do the paper and pencil and start to build up towards it. The other piece that, and this is something the state recommends, is if you're not, as a school district, doing online assessment more as some of your regular routine, don't do it for the
Right.
state assessment.
But we do some online.
We do,
Some,
exactly.
but
And we're
not-
going to start building that. So one of the things we're going to do with our common assessments is we're putting them in Edwin Analytics, and that helps us, one, house the data, which will be helpful for us, and then two, it will allow us to take it online. So we can start to do that. What we have to see is how do we schedule that? And we'll be doing that throughout the year.
That would be key to me, as I've told you many times, Mr. Smith. I want our students to be able to take the test and be tested on their information.
Right.
I don't want third graders who don't have the keyboarding skills to drag and et cetera, having that complicate their information skills.
Right.
So,
Right.
until this leadership team can assure us that the students have the keyboarding skills to handle this test, I like to put the paper and pencil at the,
So the more we
Fifth grade.
get them into that
Right.
routine of where they're used to being assessed online.
Right, now they do the STAR.
They do the STAR,
But I
there's
think
not a
that's
lot of
simple.
drag and drop.
Right, I think it's just
STAR's
multiple
more
choice.
multiple choice.
I see.
yeah.
I
So-
think putting aside whether it's paper, pencil, or computer, let's forget it. It's not important.
Mhm.
It really isn't. I mean, it's important that we need to have the infrastructure available if this test ever comes to fruition, and it is our responsibility for our students to pass it.
Mhm.
If I had a student who was in 8th grade, or even 7th grade for that matter, and they were not given the MCAS exam this year coming up, knowing that come 9th, 10th grade, they were going to have to be responsible for that test, they were not given the practice for that test, there's scholarship money attached to the MCAS exam, I think I would be very concerned over the welfare of my child, because I think it's lovely that we want to help the state create this test for the world, but the state country. But I also feel it's our responsibility as a district to educate our children well, the best possible education, regardless of whether it's Common Core or it's directing them toward the park. Whatever they learn that way, they will be able to carry on through the MCAS. And I truly believe that if we do not give our students the MCAS exam, we're putting them at a great disadvantage. Just in case, because we don't know what the results were for this past year, we have no clue. Surrounding towns have chosen not to do it. I mean, I agree with their reasoning behind it. I respect our administrators, and what their decision is. But it's a huge concern, because I feel we are responsible for the MCAS exam, period. We are not responsible for helping them create a new exam. And that is where I still feel that way. And I guess, have you had a discussion with them since the other towns have made decisions?
We have.
And they still feel that way?
Well, I think that not only has the MCAS changed its type of questioning as Common Core started to come in, because remember, Massachusetts started to adopt certain portions of the Common Core
Right.
much earlier on. So MCAS questions have been changing. So I don't think,
To more closely correlate with Park.
yes, it's never going to become Park, but you're right. They've started to revise it, and they do it over time. And so I don't think we'd be doing a disservice if we were preparing our students, because really what we're looking at is the Common Core state standards. So our lessons, our unit plans are looking, how do we align with that, and we give our children, our students, the opportunity during class time to gain the skill sets that they would need to do well on MCAS, do well on Park, do well on any standardized test. I mean, that's where we need to be. I mean,
Right, and I understand that, but I'm
Right.
like, we have to give the MCAS for 4 more years till 2018.
Mhm.
That's 4 more classes.
So 8th graders definitely will have to have MCAS to pass.
Right.
This year's 8th graders will need to take MCAS.
they're going to take it when they hit 10th grade.
So why wouldn't the recommendation be then for 3 through,
And the
Well-
7th graders also.
right, that's what I mean.
Right.
Why not
I
have 7
think
and 8?
basically for the same reason I just said.
Yeah.
We think that what we're doing in making sure that our unit plans and our curriculum is aligned with Common Core, we're giving them the opportunity to develop a skill set that will help them on MCAS, help them on Park, help them on whatever next generation assessment comes down the pike.
And you don't think that the comfort level, because there is a comfort level of taking a test over and over again, that is the same. So they're gonna have the park, they'll have the park, they'll have the park, they'll have, what is this? It's MCAS.
I don't think it's gonna be too
I don't think,
I don't think it's gonna be that
It's
dramatic.
not, it's not that
Right.
different.
Because you have to
I
remember.
could be surprised, did anybody talk to the kids who took the test?
Yeah, we actually- no, we
It's
did.
excessively
Yeah, I
different.
talked-
We
And- yeah.
surveyed them
Yeah.
to get an idea of how they thought the park exam was. And they thought, in some cases, that there were questions that were harder than their daily classroom work. I think our elementary students had a high percentage who were, I would say it's sort of the intrigue factor of taking it online. They thought that was really cool. Interestingly enough, our high school students had a higher percentage wanting paper and pencil tests. And that is a direct, I think, a direct correlation to the MCAS, where for years and years and years, they've had to write out with a pencil. So they're not used to taking and drafting online and doing an assessment like that. So that piece was interesting and was good for us to learn. But to the point around the skills that they're developing, remember that as the MCAS begins to evolve, so does what we're doing in the classroom.
Right.
So the students are seeing similar questions, similar prompts in their end-of-unit test. And some of the things that they do, say an impromptu writing prompt that they may get in class, they're seeing that style. It's not going to happen overnight. 246 teachers shift, because they've been entrenched with the MCAS for a long time, where they can just shift gears and say, oh my gosh, now I can write an exam that's so close to the park. So I think it's
see maybe
a
waiting-
slow process.
Seeing how everybody else's school system, because we never even got the results back, and we will not receive the results back from
For
our
Park.
students, for Park.
For Park,
And
right.
I think that
We will next year.
we will next year.
Right.
So, letting maybe the 60% who chose that, and we could see how their results came out, and see if there's a correlation with those students,
But
and
I-
how well they do on the MCAS. I mean, it's just food for thought.
Does the state know the results of they must, of the park? Well,
Yeah,
does it, has the
they-
state
They have not.
correlated MCAS results to park results in general
I
terms?
believe what they're using the pilot for is to build that bridge.
Okay, 'cause they
So
haven't,
yeah,
they don't know yet.
They're building that. They're supposed to be able to, at the end of next year, so if we were to go through and take Park,
Yeah,
what all districts have been promised is that your reporting results will be very similar to what the breakdown you used to get for MCAS. And so they have a bridge in terms of how you correlate between the two,
between last year's MCAS and next year's park, if
Right.
we were to do the park.
if you were to do the Park.
That's what they're telling us.
Well,
That's what they're telling us. Yeah.
see, we've got to do what we feel is best for our district. I don't care what anybody else does. I don't care what the other 60% do. I'm concerned what we do with our kids.
Mhm.
There's something new coming. It may not be Park,
Right.
but there's something new coming. They haven't guaranteed that it's going to be Park. They said
Right.
maybe it's going to be Park.
Right.
They may tweak it with all these results. We don't know that yet. I want to see our kids ready to take it. I understand everybody's concerned about MCAS, but I think whatever test Park it is now is going to align with MCAS. It's going to be similar. There's not that much difference. Now, because it's all Common Core standards.
I wholeheartedly disagree. I'm like, we're there for MCAS, and let a year go by. Let's see how the results for all the other towns do. Let's see how those align with their children's MCAS scores. And then next year, we can take but it's not going to be, we have till 2018 to prepare these children for a Park exam, if that's what it is. We don't even know if
No,
that's
we
what it's
don't
going to
know.
be.
So that's why I think it's important now that we start preparing them, because something's coming.
For a test that they may never have to take.
Oh, I think they're going to have to take something.
Something.
They're going to take something.
Yes.
Yeah,
along the
different.
lines.
Yeah, along those lines.
But I think the difference is going to be, if we think of ELA, it's going to be the fact that they no longer have one passage around a particular topic. They're probably going to have 2 to 3 passages around that topic, and then they have to take from all 3 and create their own thought on that topic and respond first to probably some multiple choice questions and then respond to a writing prompt. It's going to take them more in depth. And so that's what we're starting to
Teach them that
adapt to.
stuff.
That's
That's
we
great.
have.
We
That's what
have
are.
been.
Does Park
But,
do that?
Park has given questions similar to that.
Similarly,
Yes.
is
Yeah.
that the reason why we would choose Park? Is that why 3 through 8 Park and the rest MCAS?
No, I think the idea is that as we shift and become more aligned with the Common Core state standards, that Park is more aligned with the Common Core state standards.
Than
And so-
MCAS is.
And MCAS has made some revisions over the last 3 years, but the state is phasing MCAS out.
Right.
Whether it's Park or something else, MCAS eventually will be phased out. So they're not going to put the same development time and money into revising MCAS. They did for the last few years.
Right.
And now they're switching.
So if we were able to have hindsight in 2018, and if we didn't go to Park, would we have made the right decision to go 3 through 8 on Park? I know it's easy to look at hindsight, we don't have hindsight, but if there's a chance we're not gonna go with Park, and we're gonna go away from MCAS, would it still be the right decision now to go with Park, even though that could change?
I thought my understanding, maybe I'm wrong, was that our curriculum was based
Right, that's
on the
what she's
Park
gonna
test.
say.
It is.
Well, it's based on the
But
Common
we're
Core.
gonna
Based on
change
Common
it.
Based on the
Core
Common
standards.
Right.
Core.
Which the Park is testing.
Right.
Whatever,
Right.
whatever comes,
Yeah.
whatever comes about is gonna be based on Common Core standards.
Right.
It may not be
Right.
So
Park.
will it be more like Park than it will like MCAS,
Yes.
whatever
Yes.
comes
Yes.
about?
That's what,
Yeah.
Is that the idea?
That's
It's
exactly
the
the idea.
If.
Well-
It's all
well,
if.
No,
MCAS
there's,
We don't
there's,
even
com-
know-
there's something coming.
Right.
We don't know how our students did last year. They wouldn't let us know this.
No, they
Okay?
didn't.
That isn't fair. It just, I'm sorry, but
Well, was it not a big enough population? Is that why?
No, it's just,
No,
it's a
they- I think they
pilot.
just
And
wanted-
they
It was a
just
test.
use it to test the questions.
It was
so
a
the
test of
next
the
year when we
test.
come back, I mean, wait a year. We still have, how many years? We have 4 years, so we'll
right,
have
so
3 years.
each year we get to vote, right?
Right, you
It's
can,
the-
yes,
you know what I mean?
you
So
can
we're
take
gonna
it
change.
one year at a
Next
time.
year, there'll be information coming in from surrounding towns, and that is going to give us a tremendous amount of information that then we actually have something tangible to work with. We have nothing tangible right now. We have what ifs and maybes, and something's coming, and we're not sure, but all I know is our 7th, 8th, 9th, and probably 6th graders have to pass the MCAS, whether it's aligned with Park
Aligned with Common
or
Core.
Common Core, or however it is, and that's how I feel. And until we're told this is the way it's gonna teach them the good stuff. If Common Core is more difficult and it brings our children better, that is why we're teaching them. Not necessarily to pass a test, but the fact of the matter is this state has told us we have got to pass this test. And I feel that that is the test we have to be responsible for. And in the meantime, teach them everything above and beyond that we can.
Well, actually, we are. I mean, we're not going, regardless of what the vote is, we're not going to stop our alignment to the Common Core state standards.
Right.
You know, 'cause that's the
It's
work.
a mandate, it's told.
Well,
right?
but that's the
And
work.
it's good stuff.
It's the work we've been doing.
Right.
It's helped us not only develop our common assessments that we're developing internally, but it's also helped us develop new units throughout the different grade levels.
Right.
And so,
So we're not voting on this,
So
we're
we
just
know
discussing?
the
You-
sixth,
you can vote on it.
this
You can
year's
vote
sixth
on it.
graders will have MCAS as their graduation retirement, requirement.
you can have it for at least the next 4 years.
So how far back does it go? Because it's 11th grade it goes to?
10th grade.
10th grade.
10th
Tenth
grade.
grade,
So 6th graders.
Right.
So why would we not follow them through all the way with MCAS? So if they're gonna have to take MCAS all the way through, why would we not?
They're going to take MCAS as their competency determination.
Right, so why would we not
In high
continue that, for them at
We-
least, and then
well,
start
we-
the park
You
lower?
You will still have them take MCAS. We
Oh, we
think that
will.
they're still, no, I'm sorry.
Oh.
They'll still be prepared.
Yeah.
We think actually they'll be better prepared. Because as
really?
we continue to align to the Common Core state standards, we think we're going to be developing students with more comprehensive skill sets.
Because we can use the results or the results of Park to help us
Mhm.
improve teaching and
Right.
learning.
And see, yeah, same way we did
So
with
improve
MCAS for all those years.
So the leadership team believes Park is a better tool for understanding and improving education in East Long Meadow.
In terms of aligning to the Common Core state standards, yeah.
But not for passing the MCAS.
Well, but that's
It's not
different.
the
though.
same thing.
So that's
But
different.
it's two, yeah,
though.
it's two different
Yeah.
things.
Well, it's also. if
Our
you
end
think
goal
about-
should not be the
I know,
test
you're not
scores.
teaching to the
Our
test,
end
is
goal
what they
should
like
be
to
better
say.
education
Right.
and
But
better
It
students.
is, but we're
So
still.
if that's what they believe, then maybe we gotta go with that.
I still think that we should see what happens for 1 year and then discuss it again next year. See what happens in the other towns. This could blow up. I mean, we don't know.
Yeah, so what if Park is a bomb?
And if it is, you're right. Then
And in
that
Massachusetts, I don't
the-
think it's gonna be
They'll make the
as
decision.
bad as maybe other states that take it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you're not,
'Cause we're
you're not
better- the
comparing
MCAS
apples
is
to
better.
apples
We're
here.
better.
I mean,
Every state
Right.
is different.
I think it's well known that the MCAS was considered one of the top state assessments. But Massachusetts, right now, has already made the decision to move to something else other than MCAS. It may not be Park, they'll make that decision in the fall of 2015.
Only because well, not only because I think you've stated there's other reasons, but because we want to align with Common Core, which is nationwide versus state
Right.
specific.
Correct.
So we're trying to get away from state specific, we're trying to get
Right.
nationwide.
We're trying to do a better job of
Assessment.
making sure that curriculum is aligned to the Common Core state standards and that we're assessing those standards fully.
You know how when we discuss how,
And the MCAS was built on Massachusetts older standards, although it's been revised over the
Okay.
last few years.
you know how when we talk about, sorry, I interrupted.
No, it's fine.
That, this is the first year they took that test. There's a learning curve on taking a test. It's all new. You know, they're gonna get it. Next year they'll do better because they understand how the test works. And, you know, they're become more comfortable with the test. We discuss this all the time. So we're gonna say to a sixth grader today, it's gonna be going into 10th grade at some, and 9th, by the way, because you still do 9th grade science, right? We're gonna say to them, okay, here's a test you've never taken, and do I feel they will do well on it? They'll do well on it. But do I feel that they might do as well as they would have done otherwise? Will it matter? Will it matter if they get advanced placement at that? Because the next year it's gonna be a whole different test. But in the meantime, it'll be a new test, something they've never taken before, something they're capable of doing well on, but will they be able to do their best?
I think so, I think they'll be better prepared.
I agree with that.
I feel that if you are
I agree.
educating them correctly, you should be able to put an assessment in front of them,
It
because
doesn't-
that's what they're gonna have to
Right.
do, is
It
be able to
doesn't-
have something different, and
Remember-
whether it's MCAS Park
It's
or
coming.
not something,
Yeah, remember all the
coming.
work
I think it's good
For
experience
all
for
the
them
work
to
they're doing,
see
they're
these
doing all
different
those open,
assessments.
they're doing all those open-ended questions in a cycle, they're doing star assessment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everything is leading towards them, our students being much more comprehensive, much better skilled than our previous students.
Right.
So I really think the park will make them better prepared for MCAS, I really do.
I think so.
I think waiting a year is not a bad idea. 1 year.
Mhm.
We wait a year and the kids do good in this day, I'll say, I will not have a problem with switching over. But let them get out the kinks. We don't even have a clue what happened this past year, and there's a reason they didn't give us that information, I think. So, there you go.
Well,
All right, so we can hold off, or we can go and vote on this tonight. I'm more than happy to vote on this tonight. I
I'm
think
ready to
I
vote.
know
I'm
how
ready
I
to
feel
vote
about it.
Because I don't see where waiting is gonna, we're not gonna get any more information.
Right.
And, you know, if you're looking for more justification, I don't know if it's gonna come. I really don't. It's either, you know, 75% of the districts did it before it did, you know, in June, so.
Well, but I think Beth has a lot of valid points on this,
She does.
because.
She does.
Because,
She does.
though, if we're gonna ask our students to take the MCAS, but we're gonna give them a different test for 2 years, I get the point that it will better help our teachers, and if that's in the end truly what will happen, and our students will be better educated, then I guess that makes sense. But your point to the fact that taking the MCAS year after year and having a consistent test, if we know we're gonna have to have them take it anyway, then why not have them take it anyway? And maybe we have them take both, the 2 years that overlap. Maybe we have them take both. I know we did it in high school, and it was burdensome to an extent, but
We did actually at a few schools.
but perhaps if we have them take both, and I don't want to over-test these kids, that's not what I'm
Yeah.
proposing at all, but we could make our own correlation between the MCAS and what better way to make a correlation to the two and say, all right, well, this one shows completely different results than this one, so what's right? I don't even know where you go if you have a different.
You'd
How do
only
you
really be able
correlate?
to
Yeah.
have them do both at the high school level, and
Oh,
you
you
can't
can't?
do it with the 10th graders.
Oh, okay.
So really it's only your 9th graders.
See,
I just-
I'm sensitive to your point, Beth, but
1 year.
I follow you all the way along, and where I diverge with you is, I'd rather see the results after this first year with Park to say, okay, is this what we want? Therefore, at that point, we may say, you know what, we're going MCAS all the way. I'd rather see the results early enough that we can adjust for our students. So I agree with your point of view, it's just how we're putting into action.
I think-
You're saying hold, I'm saying I want to see it right now, so if we want to change our minds, we've got data that helps us change our minds.
I just think we have to be fair to the junior high kids. I mean, I have a child going into 4th grade right now. It does not matter to her. I have children who just
Oh, yeah,
completed the
right.
I have juniors, rising juniors, or kids coming right into juniors, and it doesn't matter to them. Okay, so I'm in a sweet spot.
Hey, like me, you're objective. Yeah, yeah, right.
But
You
I'm
don't- yeah.
thinking about,
Interesting way to characterize it.
well, it is, because it's just, I don't
It's a
have to
valid
worry
way.
about it, because I know that my 4th grader is gonna be taking something different.
Right.
Right.
All right,
So-
but if I had a 6th, 7th, or an 8th grader right now, I'd be like, come on.
See,
We
I have a
see-
I have
know.
a 6th grader, but I just feel that it's just part of this process, that if he's getting a great education, no matter what test is put in front of him, it's still going to assess
I know. I
his
guess
knowledge,
it's
just the way
his
to look at it.
skills,
Yeah.
and his abilities.
I guess
And
it's just
gonna
'cause
be
they have no
so
idea
many
if they're gonna
different-
use it or not.
And I think sometimes the kids
Right.
don't realize how different a test is, they just
Right.
know it has a different name, I'm
But
not sure
the
they,
key is something else is coming.
Right.
right.
That's what we have to be
But
prepared.
But
our
not
kids
for all these kids, though.
It
For
could
the-
be,
For
it could be.
the
We-
8th, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, something else is not coming,
We don't
right?
know that.
Is that what we're saying?
We
Why
don't
don't
know.
we try it
They're
on
gonna
the
keep
3rd
the-
and 4th?
But
and
MCAS
4th
is also
graders?
changing its.
But they may still tweak it.
Right, but so why don't we
MCAS
stay with it as it
changing.
tweaks? That's why, so I'm struggling with this a little bit too, Beth. I'm with you on parts of
Do
this,
the
but I'm
4th
with
and
you at
5th
this
graders,
moment.
but
too.
leave the
What
junior
did
high
Gordon
kids
said
and
that
then
they
move
were
it up
like-
as they grow along in age. Maybe that. Start with, what grade did you want to start with, the 3rd or the 4th?
Third.
Start with the
Can
3rd,
only
the
start with
4th, I know, the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th graders. Do that this year with them, because we know they're not, weren't in that.
Right.
And then see how it goes. And then leave the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, teach them what they need to learn regardless of the test. But,
I think we should do that for all our students.
Yeah, you
hello,
And we do.
yes, but I'm
And we
just
do.
talking about.
Yes, I know we do.
You know what I mean? Because
Right.
we know that these students, the younger ones, are going to be responsible for something new.
Mhm.
But that we still have to be respectful of the students who are a little bit older, who are on that teeter totter.
That's a pretty fair accommodation. I can kind of flow with that. I mean, in other words, keep it at 3 through 5. It's our 2 buildings, Maple Shade and Mountain View. 6 through 8, because that population is going to take some form of MCAS.
And move it
Keep
on.
them where they are. So maybe that's a.
Maybe that's
a
the
combination-
compromise that.
A combination that works for all of us.
So what if we float that idea, you and the leadership
So the
team
leadership
can
team.
collectively think about that, and I don't wanna,
Absolutely.
And then we'll
I
move
can
it up,
put
you
it on
know,
the
next year
agenda
the
for-
6th
we have a meeting on the
down,
20th.
and then the next year the
I'll put
7th
it on the
down.
agenda. and
You
then-
understand how
Alright.
reasoning Gordon?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
then, yeah.
Sorry to be
Yeah.
difficult.
No,
but I
but
just-
No, but it came
I
up
think
with
you
a
should-
nice
These are-
I can
compromise.
live
Oh,
with
they
that.
love me.
No, but
No.
that's
I welcome
fair.
you at the
I mean,
leadership team meeting.
I mean, we want to be consistent at each level, and I think we are being consistent. 3 through
Right.
5 is doing PAC, 6 through 8 is doing MCAS, and 9 through 11 is doing MCAS. As long as we're consistent with each level, I can live with that, I like the accommodation.
Yeah.
But I just want to see what the results are.
But-
That's the
Right.
bottom
We'll get it
line.
from 3 through
Right,
5.
right,
Right.
right.
but in fairness to the leadership, you and the leadership team,
I'll
I
bring
I
it
would
to-
like to have that conversation, we
Yeah,
would like to have that
yes.
Yeah, we
conversation.
want
Because
it.
if you come back to us and say, these are the reasons why we wanna go,
Right.
you know,
We don't-
3 through
we missed
8,
something,
Yeah.
let's
Right.
hear that
We missed
discussion as well.
No, that's
Right.
fine.
Because we take, I know we all
Right.
take their,
Yeah.
yours
Absolutely.
and their input.
We do.
And it is silly to teach a 3rd, a 4th, and a 5th grader MCAS if we know that they are never going to have to be
Right.
responsible for it.
So we'll have this.
Okay, so we'll table this,
We'll have
and
an agenda
then,
for our next meeting.
right,
Beautiful.
Thank you
okay.
guys.
No, thank you, Beth, that
Good
was.
work, Beth.
Yeah.
That's why we're a good committee.
That's
all right,
Listen,
we're a
we
committee, not
can
an
argue and
individual.
listen.
Okay, we're moving on to our new business. We have 7.1, substitute pay rate.
Okay, every 3 years, we update this. It has a combination of positions on there. It's our part-time noon aides. It gives our substitutes for cafeteria employees, paraprofessional employees, substitutes for custodians, and secretarial substitutes, as well as nurses. A little different rate for each of those groups, some that are impacted by contracts, some that I believe are impacted probably by more industry standards, such as the nurses.
And some are impacted by the new minimum wage.
That too.
Oh,
Thank you.
wow.
That goes into effect, it goes to $10 an hour on January 1st, 2016, and in 2017, it goes to $11.
Oh, the flat rate, that's per day? Flat rate, is that what flat
Per
rate
hour.
means?
Per hour.
Well, that's per hour.
Yeah.
Why does it say flat rate then? The nurses.
The nurse, sub nurse.
Oh, that's 25 per hour.
Oh,
That's a day?
No, it's per hour.
Oh, it's per
Yeah, it's
hour.
per hour.
Now, is the
Yeah.
substitute
It
for the
doesn't
teacher
change.
in here?
Okay. Well, I
It's
just
more
wanted-
based on
That's-
industry
That's
standards.
that's me.
yes,
I'm-
that's what's.
I don't want to pull a Beth here, but
What do you got?
I can live with this, but when I look and see that paraprofessionals, sub-custodians, and sub-secretarials make much, much more money than a sub-teacher, I still have a problem with that, and I think that's something we should look at for next year. I mean, a sub-custodian who works 8 hours is making $150. A teacher who works 6 hours is making $65. I find inequity.
I used to be a sub. It was
Yeah.
exciting getting that paycheck,
So, I
especially if I
mean,
have to.
this
I know.
works, but I think we really gotta talk
Yeah.
about sub-teachers' pay.
So the sub-para makes more than the sub-teacher?
Yeah.
How much is it? Oh.
But the amount of people the amount of subs that we use for sub-custodians are far less than.
Oh, of course it is.
Right.
I mean, it really is, you know.
But sub-paras, I would think, are the same, some of the same people as our sub-teachers, right?
They could
In some
be,
cases,
And
yes,
so,
yes, in
don't they have
some
more
cases, yeah.
responsibility as the sub-teacher than the sub-para?
They do.
Yeah.
But we pay the sub-para more than, or we're proposing to pay
governed.
the sub.
Well,
Governed by
sub-teacher is a,
That's a valid point.
that's a
Yeah.
flat rate for the day, it's not a per
$65.
hour,
I
right?
didn't
Right,
know that the
65 per day.
sub-para wasn't a flat rate.
Well, paras are hourly,
They're
so it's set by
hourly,
the
so-
contract.
Okay. Because
What is
that's,
it
and I
now?
know I was, but that's not much.
That is
more
the
than
hourly.
$65 for a sub-teacher.
What's
They're
the
not paid
sub-para
per
now,
hour.
$11.50 now?
That, the new contract set it at $11.50.
Oh, we set that already,
At the
okay.
Yeah.
beginning.
But this is not for subs, for paras, new paras.
That's the
Yeah.
set para pay?
Yeah.
We're paying the subs the same as the.
That's what's been in the policy for years, yeah.
I mean, this all makes sense, but I just think
Right.
it's a catalyst
I
to
know.
look at
But
the
to
sub-
Mr.
Well, that's not
Patero's
on here,
point.
though, is
No,
the
I know.
subs.
Right,
More
now
of
it's
this
gotten
will-
to the point where they're making more money than.
So we can look at that, Jody, because I know it's a budget item, correct?
Right.
It's a major
Right.
budget item.
Right.
Yes, it is.
You go $5, I think of it, because I remember
Sub-
we discussed it
substitute
for
pay,
the big.
There's
That's
a
in
huge
your
impact.
today. It's in your today, right? The
Well-
sub-teacher pay?
No.
That's
No.
not in
They're
your.
not in unit, no.
It's not in the
a separate
contract?
policy, no. They're not.
But we
Substitutes are
always
not part of the
estimate and
contract.
we have a budget line item for substitutes. Is what
It's
this-
already in our budget.
Right.
We budgeted for that already,
Yes.
so we would have to
Look at it for
revisit
the
next year.
Next year, right, for the
I
following
know,
year.
revisit even going up about $5, it made a tremendous impact in the budget. I remember that years ago, we had
Yeah.
that debate.
And we're gonna have just not even, I know we just did the para contract, but with the minimum wage going up, that's gonna be a huge issue too.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because you see what they're
And,
making.
I mean,
Right.
we should look at the daily substitute rate for teachers because we have to make sure that we continue to be competitive.
Especially long-term, things like that,
I
and
think it's
how
different
it
as
adds
long-term.
in. and
Well,
I
well,
don't think-
it's-
Yeah,
No,
no,
we
if
just
you,
had
if
that
you are
open
a
enrollment
long-term
today.
sub and
Yeah.
you, the way it works is if you put in 30 days and you're
But
still
it's
subbing.
consecutive days, how that
consecutive
works,
days,
you know,
right,
that's a
right.
tricky.
Do you have any idea where we sit with, let's say, the rest of the LPVEC districts with sub-teachers?
I think we took a look at it a couple of years ago, and we were pretty much on, it just depends, I mean, the Springfield pays more.
Right.
You know, but I think we're
Just
not
talking
too
about
far
member districts.
around, I would have to look at it again,
Okay.
but I think
Okay.
we were pretty close.
Just out of curiosity. All right.
Okay.
All right, so,
Now, I make a
we'll-
motion to
Thank you.
accept this part-time and support staff employment substitute rate.
All right, motion's made
I'll second.
and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Hearing none, that carries forward 5-0. Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to 7.2, the ELPS Bus Driver's Handbook for 2014 to 15.
Okay, at your places, I apologize, we did not get the cover sheet out with the packet, but I did put one at your places. Mr. Thompson, did you get one?
Yes.
I did, thank you.
Right in
Okay.
front of
So it just gives you, there weren't an incredible amount of changes, but just outlined them here. And if you want to flip through your bus driver and bus monitor handbook, the first change is on page 4. And under the section where it talks about conduct, we just added the last, everybody see it? Okay. Last sentence in that first paragraph, unprofessional conduct. We added that full sentence and then added the final 2 sentences on the page, just to provide some clarity. These are actually practices that verbally we've put into place last year, and actually I think Ms. Solojars may agree with me that we had probably one of our most successful years in terms of effective organization of the bus yard and interpersonal relationships and so forth. but we wanted to make sure that we carry over some of these changes into print. So that's the first change. The next change is on page 6. In the middle of the page, under the bold there where it says, keep to the official schedule, the last sentence in that large paragraph there, after your last student is dropped off, head directly to the bus yard.
Okay.
So that's the only change there. Moving to page 9. We added
Oh,
the
we did this
information
again,
that
right.
was in the policy, if you remember, around.
We went over this, right?
Yeah, this is actually directly from the transportation
right,
policy.
right.
So we just wanted to make sure that the drivers had it in their handbook and they knew what could be coming, what might happen on early release days. Okay?
Could I
Yeah,
just make a
absolutely.
comment on that?
Sure.
A parent came in the door a couple days ago and, asked about early release days, and she was almost frantic, saying, I just don't know what I'm going to do on early release days. So I told her that, the school committee had just approved a new policy, in addition to the policy about early release days, and I gave her a copy of that. I thought she was going to cry. She was so happy.
Happy to leave?
Happy,
Yeah.
because she was just so relieved, because she just couldn't figure out what she was going to do on early release days. So it was just kind of nice.
Good, all right. Doing something well. Good to see. The next change is on page 15, and basically this is just changing the reimbursement amount. I think it was 40 originally, it's now 60, and that's keeping up with, we actually use OcuHealth, and so we direct our drivers to OcuHealth. That's the cost of the exam. If they choose to go to a private physician, then we'll reimburse up to that $60 level.
Okay, so it's consistent.
Oh.
Yeah. Does everybody see it in the middle of the page?
Right,
yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, then moving to page 19. Again, more in the middle of the page. It's dealing with absences, but it's that paragraph that starts all absences. Everybody see where I am? Okay, it just clarifies, there was a lot of confusion around requesting family medical leave or leave without pay. And it first has to begin with a request in writing to the superintendent. And so it's clarifying that, making sure that drivers understand that.
Okay.
And then the final change is on page 24, and it really was actually a deletion, if I'm using that word correctly, or removal. There was a number 8 there, but really MSDS sheets don't really apply to bus drivers. That's something we use with our custodial crew. So we took that off so as not to confuse.
Okay.
Pretty much common sense.
Helps with the cover sheet. Sorry that didn't go down first.
All right.
So should I,
So would someone like to make a motion?
yeah, I move that we accept changes made to the 2014-2015 East Long Meadow Public School bus driver and monitor handbook.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Great. Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Hearing none, that carries forward 5-0. All right, coming up at 7.3, our update on capital projects. So this
Okay, and
is-
this is actually very good news. Our tennis courts, I don't know if you've had a chance to get out there.
They look
The
good.
final asphalt layer has been put on. The fencing structure has been put up. I'm assuming it's called wire mesh, am I correct? With the, what they have to
That's
add
it.
to the fencing?
Chain link?
Chain link, thank you. It's not wire mesh, appreciate it. And so that's got to go up. They are hoping that they will get that up next week. They are finishing up, this is now, our DPW is working on the conduit, and so they're finishing up that this week, so that everything's working, we can have the lights on as we open those courts. If everything goes according to plan, they should be then looking to surface with the paint and line the courts in the week of the 26th, and then final net installation just after Labor Day, and then it'll be open.
That's exciting. It looks
Yeah.
nice and neat.
So that's a huge relief, and with that, they're probably a couple days off schedule where they wanted to be, but just so you know, our DPW has done an exceptional job, as they do every summer, but they got hit with a little bit of a curveball. We had a hot water tank at the middle school, a massive hot water tank, begin to leak, and they picked up on, just through their regular maintenance, that it was beginning to go. And very thankful that they picked it up,
Yeah.
that it was beginning to go, because if it had that let loose, one, it would have caused 750 gallons, so it would have caused some pretty good damage. Two, it probably would have closed the school had that been done during school, when school was
Right.
open for a week to 2 weeks.
Oh.
So,
No.
last couple weeks, they've been cutting that tank apart, taking it out, and they're gonna bring in actually 3 200-gallon tanks.
Oh, so they're moving forward with it.
Yeah, so,
Are
we
those
did
for the
alert.
showers?
That's why we have maintenance.
It's for hot water for most of the
Most of the
school.
building.
Yeah.
Did that require a reserve fund transfer? On
Not at
town
the
side?
moment, but we just alerted appropriations and capital that we're covering it right now, but it's putting a big dent into our maintenance budget.
Out of the DPW maintenance budget?
Yeah,
Must
well,
be.
Yeah.
DBW
They
maintenance
have a
budget
designated
that's
school.
designated for schools. So,
Are we gonna request a fund transfer?
only if we need it.
What's the, how much is it?
Yeah.
Right now, the amount has been around 23,000.
Wow.
What's our
It may
total
go a little higher.
School budget, maintenance budget?
In the 80s on the maintenance side.
80,000 total?
Yeah.
And you use that the
Oh.
Well, you have two sides to it. You have one side that's more supply and, I would say, what I would call sort of the DPW side, if you will. And then you have sort of the contractor side for all the inspections, such
Okay.
as elevator.
Set
and-
costs.
Right.
Yes.
And
So the
so
80,000 is
they're
the supply part?
Both, actually. They're both around
That's
about the
total.
same. No, it's not total, I don't think.
It's two different
You think it's
accounts.
40 and 40?
Yeah.
I thought it was 80 and 80.
So,
Oh, that's gonna
Should
take, that's
we
gonna
request
take
a
like
It's
50%.
been so
fund
many-
transfer?
Yeah, I don't know.
We should probably.
Well, we put
request-
them on
we talked
notice. We put them on notice that we may need down the road. I don't think they would grant us one now, because we haven't exhausted the account. I
Oh, is
think-
that, you have to get to a certain limit before
I
they,
think
you
if
can
we,
do
yeah,
that?
if we were at a
Alright.
point where we start to exhaust the account, such as, what was it, 2 years ago with the roof shingles at Birchland, when we were noticing that we had to replace one side of one area of the building, the roof shingles, we were at, I don't know, $5,000, and that was going to be well above, and they did a reserve fund transfer. So Bruce puts them on notice.
Okay.
So that this is something we need to think about.
Yeah.
He provided
Definitely.
capital and appropriations with pictures of what they were doing and costs that we know right now.
What's our third of our total budget? That's,
It is.
we
Yeah,
don't
it is.
wanna
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why you need to put them on
let our
notice.
maintenance
Right.
go because of it.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
And we actually expend on the inspection side and the vendor side, if you will, 3/4 of it before we even open school.
Oh.
Because you're doing
Oh,
all
that
of
is
that
right,
to
yeah.
We
get
can't
school
even afford
open.
that then. We need a fund transfer. Because otherwise we won't do any maintenance, right? So if we were to show that 3/4 were used up in already set costs,
No, he feels that we're okay for right now.
Really?
Yeah.
okay?
He sent the email.
I trust him. I
on-
trust
I
on
know.
Friday.
You might be right about the, I'm just trying to.
I want to say.
80 and 80.
80 and 80.
Yeah, it can't
80 and
be
80 sounds
40.
better,
That's-
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't,
It's got-
I would say it's gotta be more
Yeah.
than 40. That's,
It's
I know, it
Yeah.
doesn't sound,
It's been
Yeah.
out of my budget for.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't remember.
But I will follow up with him
Okay.
tomorrow.
yeah.
On the electrical upgrade at Meadowbrook, we actually are to the point where he thinks probably tomorrow or Wednesday we'll be working on the punch list.
Oh, good.
Okay, good.
So,
That's neat.
ready to go.
Wow.
They, last week finished up, they had to shut down electricity, I think it was Wednesday and Thursday of last week, do some final installation, and now they're back up and heading towards the punch list.
Good.
So,
Great.
hopefully we'll have none of those calls where a breaker has gone down.
Yeah, really.
Because of,
Yeah.
well, it's expanding, the capacity will be increased, so we should be in a good position to open.
Oh, that sounds great. Excellent. All right.
The Mountain View Playscape, I had a question
Oh, the fencing.
about.
Oh, they taped it off?
Taped it off.
Yeah.
What's
Oh,
up?
yeah.
What's going on with that?
DPW is supposed to be looking at it and seeing if they can remove, I think there's a piece that they have to remove that has become jagged.
Oh.
And so they taped it off so people don't use it. And My discussion with John Collins last week was they were looking at it to see what they could remove and see if they could bring it back into, in some way, back into play.
So that's the
Use.
plan as of
Yeah.
now.
Right.
Do they have a
Okay.
time frame like that?
This week and next week.
They're hoping
And that's
that'll be
Mountain View
done
or
for school
Meadow?
starts.
Mountain View, that's what I thought, yeah.
That's what I heard. I
They
haven't seen
also would be
Yeah.
looking to fill with, I believe, wood chips underneath.
it.
So
Yeah, they're due.
Those are the two
They're all
things.
She
due.
does
They should
that,
do
yeah.
Meadowbrook too if we
So.
could swing it.
Yes, but we just
Yeah.
got a hot water
Well,
heater.
let's-
Or
Yeah.
three.
Right. I thought it was because of bees. I know we always have bee issues at the
Oh.
play structures.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. There are any number of schools, sometimes you get a beehive.
Slides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At Meadowbrook.
It's a lot of
Oh,
wood.
yeah.
So if we're going to address that, we would want to address that also in the next 2 weeks, because you want to do that before students arrive.
Right.
Exactly.
Definitely.
All right. Rich, do you want to take us, or you
So,
have?
two items quick.
Sure.
Miss Liddy, I love the important dates
I know,
on
I
the
didn't know.
agenda.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Really is good. And secondly, Mr. Smith and Miss Liddy, can we have our student here next August? A student at our next meeting, a student rep at our next meeting.
Next
think
meeting on
that's
the
too soon.
25th, they want to start school.
Oh,
We've
okay.
reached
Yeah.
out to him.
Okay.
And,
He was in Hawaii.
He was
Do
in
we know-
Hawaii.
Do we know who it is?
Oh, you already have the
We
student?
do,
Okay.
last name is Moynihan,
Jack
Jack
Oh,
Moynihan.
Jack Moynihan.
Jack
Oh,
Moynihan, yeah.
great, great.
So we have sent him a letter inviting him when he's back from Hawaii, which hopefully is this week.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, here he's quite the golfer, so
Yes.
he's
Yes,
He's
he
quite
is.
the athlete.
golfing
Yes.
in Hawaii. So we look forward to bringing him, if we can, bring him on board for the
Good.
25th, we will.
Okay.
If not,
Okay.
If not, it'll be that first meeting in September.
Fantastic.
Have we posted for the 2 assistant principal jobs?
We have.
And Eric's job as well?
We have posted for all 3, yeah.
When are those closed?
The Meadowbrook assistant principal has closed and they've interviewed.
Oh,
The high school assistant principal, I believe, also has closed, but I think interviews are next week. The data and information specialist goes at least until Friday, and Ms. Olajars and I are going to talk a little bit about that tomorrow to look at what candidates we have right now, what our transition looks like, where we are, and whether we maybe extend that posting a little bit.
that's a specialized.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
specialized.
yeah.
Yes.
Very
The other
specialized.
piece was, and I did talk to Mr. Quimby on Thursday, I think it was Thursday of last week. We talked about a number of things, but one of the things we looked at was, should we be advertising in different spots? School Spring, I think now nationally, does attract people who are looking at school systems.
Right.
And that is something we want. I mean, we prefer to have someone who has the skill set, but also has some experience in schools.
Right,
That would be ideal.
Right.
We hit a home run with Mr. Bauer.
right.
We'd like to do so again.
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah.
a strategy that we'll look at tomorrow and
Right.
see, should we be branching out to,
IT,
monster.com or
Yeah.
any
Might not
specific
hurt,
IT.
they might not
Right.
think
Yeah.
to even go to School Spring if they've got experience, but they're not
Right.
Right.
tight with the schools. Are they happy with the pool for the assistant principals?
From what I understand, at Meadowbrook, very happy.
They did, okay.
And I have not, they haven't interviewed yet. They have quite a few candidates, though,
Yeah.
from what I can see.
All right.
So,
Good.
All right.
Thank you.
Good.
All right, so we can have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, motion made and
Second.
seconded by Beth. And any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. All right, hearing none, that carries forward 5-0. Excellent, thank you very much, good to see everyone.
Welcome back.
and-
Gentlemen, thank you
Welcome
for
back. That's right, thank you.
being a part of our
Thank you,
meeting.
Don.